Hey guys, it's Ranch. Welcome to the Panther and Plotter. Panther versus Plotter. I don't want to restart it or anything, Skylar, but let's start it.
All right,
Uh,
I'm gonna run to the
dur-
bathroom real fast. I'll be right back.
okay, during this 4 o'clock hour, we will have these three authors speaking: Laura Marquez Diamond and Sasha Marshall. And I'll just fill up the time. I do pantsing and taking off pants. Um, Crush wants to thank Sex Symbol Podcast for sponsoring today's panel. If you're looking for a couple of ladies who know how to shake things up, these are your gals. Guys, it's great to have you. So I want to
Thank
jump
you.
into this and say welcome. Hey, Sasha. Hey, Laura. Um,
Hi. Good to
hi.
see you.
It's good to see you too. Well, I see it. I see a dog right now, Sasha. I don't know what's happening. So, do you identify more as a plotter or a pantser, Laura?
Hi, I really wish I was a plotter, but I'm
Yeah.
not. Like, it's just not natural for me, which is odd because the rest of my life is very planned, but I
Yeah.
can't seem to translate that when I write. So I am definitely a pantser. I
Yeah.
think, there's just, one time I wrote like 6 pages of a
Mhm.
plot. Like, I
Mhm.
was like determined to be a plotter when I first started. And the second I opened the computer, I ended up writing about like a plane crash that had nothing to do with my plot. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I just
Yeah. Yeah.
never even had it in those 5 pages of plots. And I open a document and I start writing about something completely unrelated and completely surprising to me. So I do
Mhm.
think I'm just naturally a pantser. I can't help it. So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
truth.
That makes sense. What about you, Sash?
I am a little bit of both.
Hmm.
I probably am more of a pantser than a plotter, but I do plot a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, I usually start off pantsing and then I go back and plot a little bit more and do a little more character development. So there's a little bit of both there.
Yeah, gotcha. I'm a pantser myself, and but in this year, I've decided to kind of plot things out a little better and to build a map for myself. And I tend to veer away and take a lot of exits, and maybe I turn around, and I go back, and then I find the right turn, and but yeah, that's me as well. So I get it. It's tough planning things out when you're creative. I mean, I don't know how people can do it.
So Sasha's point about like character, although I
Yeah.
don't really do a lot of plot events,
Mhm.
I'm pretty in the weeds with character. Like, that's where I'll put all those pages that I probably won't use, but I
Mhm.
know every weird quirk and every, so I spend a lot of time kind of planning who the character is. And for some reason, that's more of the pre-work I do than really any of the events. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I do think, I mean, counting that part, then there is a little bit of planning, but it's more about like just getting to know the who I'm writing about. So more than actual events.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a strong sense of your characters before you start writing them? I think you just kind of answered that question. I mean, because but how do you put that on paper, or do you just have it in your mind?
Sasha, do you want to go first? I feel like I'm
Sure. Um, Sometimes I'll do a character interview before I write a little
Mhm.
bit, but I
Mhm.
won't do the full character interview. And it's just a list of questions I've compiled over the years that help me get a sense of that character. So sometimes I'll start a little bit there so I have some sense of who I'm writing,
Mhm.
but sometimes I don't. I just will throw a chapter down and figure it out after.
All right.
It just really depends on the story and the characters and probably how much time I've thought about it before I actually started writing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think to sort of add to that, there's also for me an element of the genre. I write sports romances.
Mhm.
And so, as much as I want a character to be unique, I feel like my readers demand a very particular kind of, at this point, I guess, a very particular kind. So I have I have a series. It's called the Columbus Mavericks, and there is a Mavericks kind of guy, and he talks dirty, and he's very funny and flirty. But once he's in love, he's completely like no chill, right? So this is already, in some ways, it's really a balance of like kind of the uniqueness of a character, but also this sort of part of that is, there's a particular kind of character I'm drawn to and that I feel like readers like. Like I have basically a lot of readers who are like, this is what I'm here for, right? I'm here for the dirty talk. I'm weird, you know what I mean? So I'm like, you know what? I'm happy to fulfill that particular need for you, sure. So there is a little bit, I think, of genre that pivots or that controls or that affects character development for me, even as I'm trying to make each character also as unique as I can. It's really like a tightrope, it's a really interesting sort of process, I think.
Yeah, feel that. I've got a series of from what I'm writing right now with White Lighter, the Acquiescent Writer Yarns, and so I've got this whole like idea of who I want the character to be, but I don't know if I want to show it or just tell it because he's a writer and he writes journals, and so the reader sees the people reading the journals, but they also see the journals. So it's a hard mix, but and that goes a lot with the pantsing because I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll write a story from the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, and then just kind of bring it back home to the 2023. So, but how does plotting and pantsing affect your writing process from the initial idea to the final draft? You want to go, Sasha?
Sure. I was trying to think about that question for a moment.
Okay. Well, go ahead
Um,
and go ahead and, for Laura if you want to think about it for a sec.
yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Hey, I think how does it affect it? Like I said, like I don't really try too hard to super plot something. It just kills my creativity part. But I know, so I actually have this, it's not the best trait as a writer, but sometimes I'll just get so hung up on a particular scene that I want to see and I want to write on paper, and I will literally write a book around it. It makes no sense. So this is the other side of like not just not plotting, but like being sort of driven by an interaction and then kind of building around that. So there, because that's such a big part of like, how I do things, part of it is like instead of plot, I might think about scenes. So the process is um very messy for me, to be honest. Like it goes through so many edits because of this. So this is the downside. I don't fully recommend this, like I said, for a lot of people, because it does require me to go back and do a lot of kind of connections after. So that's the downside of like the writing process, to your question, is because I want to be driven by particular scenes or particularities of character. But that means it still has to be cohesive, and that takes a lot of going back and rethinking the materials and how they fit. So that's the writing process for me. I want to say so much, and 90% of that like heavy lifting for me is the editing part. But the actual writing, although it takes a lot of hours also, it doesn't feel as heavy because it's just much more, it's much more creative, much more freeing. But I never want to just I mean, that's not a good book, right? You just like, hey, this is what I like, and throw it out there. You actually do have to sort of think about how it flows. So the process for me is the heavy lifting during the editing part. That's a big part of the way that the plotter slash pantser difference, I think, is affecting how I write and what I put out there.
Do you want to add anything to that, Sasha?
Sure.
Okay.
Because I kind of go between both, I think I'm just gonna add on top of the plot holes, really.
Mhm.
That's probably my biggest issue with it, that I have to go back from between the initial idea and the final draft and make sure everything is flowing and everything's the same and I didn't contradict myself.
Right.
That's
Right.
definitely the pitfall of the pantsing part.
I found it for myself. I write a lot in the real world, and so I'll think of an anachronism that I want to plot something around or something that happened that day, and then I realize like, wait a second, that didn't happen that year, so that I got to go back and like refigure something else out, and it's a pain in the ass for sure. And that's just the style I've chosen to write in is like this gonzo realism. And so yeah, it's tough, especially when you get down to the final draft and you're like, shit, that can't work at all because some reader out there is going to nerd into it and say, oh yeah, that's so you have to really boil down or get down into it.
So, Ranch,
Yeah.
if you've ever done an anachronistic thing, did you ever look it up and think like, oh my God, I'm so old? Like I did that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Every
You're like,
time.
oh my gosh, like no one knows this unless they were
Yeah.
born in before 1980 or whatever. You're like, it's so common. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Gen X. So like there's certain kinds of language that
Yeah.
I don't realize till later that a lot of my readers are not going to get, and I feel old doing,
I, I deal with that all the time, actually. I had a story where I mentioned a song from an actual band, and they're like, wait a second, that song wasn't out yet. I'm like, shit. All right, well, go back in and change it to an older song, and it worked out. So, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And that's the idea of pantsing, right? Like you're just writing it down because you're kind of riffing. You're just sitting there riffing, for hours on end, and coming up with something. Um, but what's your biggest benefits and challenges you face as a plotter or a pantser?
For me, it's definitely the plot holes and the consistency
Yeah.
are my challenges. The benefits, I think you are able to be creative, more
Hmm.
creative with your characters when you pants.
Yeah. Yeah. I get
um
that. Do you guys have like a Bible of your characters, basically? Like a
my editor does.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's amazing. She does.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, you have used this before, like this particular name. It's like, why do you hate that name? You gave it to every villain. It's like
Yeah.
my first instinct, so I have to go back and change it. But yeah, she's got a Bible for me, and I
Yeah.
never consult it. She sends it, but I never truly consult it because part of it is I can change the name later, right? So
Yeah. This is something that came up in an earlier panel, but this is a good question. Have any of your editors or readers actually told you that that's not what your character would have done? Like they wouldn't do that, you know?
yeah, the one thing I get from one of my betas, and it's become a joke because
Mhm.
like my spice level is like 3 to 4, and I actually like writing those scenes, but
Mhm.
if I haven't had a sex scene in the first 2 chapters, she's like, "Where's the banging?" Like she really gets mad. Like, where
Yeah.
is it right now? Right. And now it's a joke because I'm like, look, not every character is gonna work that way, but I do think there's certain expectations
Mhm.
and and sometimes they'll just sort of disagree, but I think if you write a piece and you really get the character, even if they're like mad at the character at a certain point, like why are they doing that,
Mhm.
I think a certain kind of book, what I'm going for is at the end, they're able to say, oh, logically, that's logically what the character would do based on their psyche, based on their trauma, based on their sort of notions of self-awareness or lack of self-awareness, right? So I do think it's nice when there's that like disagreement, but also at the end, a kind of understanding. I mean, I always like to say, um, it's never like people don't do things that they think are unreasonable. Even if it's a really unreasonable act, while they're doing it, they think it's reasonable. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I do think like when I've had like readers who have said that, like I really hated that he did X, but it totally made sense. And I went back and realized why they did it. And that's really to me a compliment of like how that character kind of drove it. Right. And that's
Mhm.
part of being a pantser too. Like you can do things that might seem off, but if it's rooted in the character and the plot can have a lot, or the behaviors can have a lot more range as long as it's grounded in some kind of um, understanding of character or the psyche of the character.
So I've noticed that a lot of times as a pantser, almost exclusively, that my writing depends upon my mood. Have you ever, pricked your darlings or killed your darlings just because you were having a bad day?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I'm a
Yeah.
mood writer and reader. I think if you start out a mood reader, you end up being a mood writer too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Like your mood will definitely pants in the wrong direction. Yeah.
Oh
But,
yeah, it'll go off the rails.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
You're like, I don't know how this happened.
yeah. Is it hard to get back on the rails after that?
Well, it just depends on the piece. Right now I have a cartel romance. It's 110,000 words and not finished. And it just went off the rails and I walked away from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those
It's
short ones are so tough. I'm
Mm-hmm.
writing for an anthology. They're so hard. I mean, I think they're especially difficult for a a pantser, right? Because I mean, I feel like I need so much time with the
mhm,
characters, and even if I remove a whole bunch, I do
mhm.
feel like I think a 10K, 10 to 15K word count needs to be plotted so tightly, and I don't do that well at all. So, you
I
know,
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I don't think I can write anything less than 20,000 words, to be honest.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's definitely I mean, I can't get into the mindset of the planner that way. I mean, it seems like you're building a chessboard, and and for me, I just want to throw them out there and go to war for me, and just let the characters do their thing and let them breathe and have their own words. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough. We just got three pantsers in here, man. Where's the plotter?
Where's the planner?
No.
Um,
um,
Well, to try to be a planner, I wrote one romantic
mhm,
suspense.
yeah,
And I mean, a thriller slash suspense better have a plan. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and boy, that hurts so hard for me. It was so, so hard to write. I'm never gonna do it again. I like the way it turned out, but it was
Yeah.
so challenging because you have to control and detract and kind of have some form of, like, look over here. You know what I mean? Like, so you had to know what that end goal was. You had to know
Yeah.
who that twist. You had to have the twist right from the beginning and keep deferring it.
Mhm.
Boy, and I just could not decide. Like, I would be like, that's the thing. And then the characters would do this other thing and it didn't make sense anymore. So I'm never going to write a romantic suspense. It took longer than any of the books I've ever written. It took so long. And I wrote two books before I finished that one. You know what I mean? Like I started other ones and I had to let it sit for a while. So I do think genre wise, it's just not a good fit for certain kinds of books. But yeah, so I know I'd love to see how does a plotter think about, especially those last minute kind of twists at the end is always really interesting to me.
We are almost at the halfway point, but we're still going to be talking. But I wanted to give the scavenger word. The scavenger hunt word is sloth. We don't know why that's. What were they thinking? Why is it sloth? We work hard. No, I'm joking. I'm going to give her heck for that.
Sloth,
Um,
like the animal?
yeah, yeah,
Alrighty.
yeah. Slow but steady wins the race, I guess. Um, what are your I just asked, what are you plotter? We're all pantsers here. So how does it work for you? Like, I mean, do you are you like me where you just sit on it for a minute and then you've got these scenes in your head and you just kind of like let it wash over and then you just start typing away and then you figure out where that is going to be in the story like I do? Or do you just start at the beginning and just start typing? Or I mean, is it a linear line or do you I mean, how does that work for you guys?
I just start writing typically. My first chapter is usually off the cuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just whatever happens, happens. And then
Mhm.
I may even do that for two or three chapters and then go back and start. When I say I plot a little, I may give myself chapter goals to know how the plot thrust is going forward.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
also use Romancing the Beat um, by Quinn Hayes to help me when I get stuck to know
Mhm.
which beat I haven't hit yet, or one of the romance beats. So
Mhm.
there is some plotting there, but when I start out, I just go off the cuff and then figure it out after.
Right.
I'm with you, Sasha. Same, same. And I mean, I know some things like I like writing first person duel, so I know, the chapters will feel distinct voice wise and character wise. But I don't even number my chapters during draft. Like I won't even put chapter one, chapter two. Like it's just chapter, and then I know it's like whatever, it's Dexter's chapter, right? So I'll know that because I have to decide on voice and POV. But I won't, that way it's sort of flexible. It does get moved around. And yeah. I mean, when you talk about killing your darlings, that's its own, like, I feel like that is the biggest thing I had to learn, is just like this felt so good when I was writing it, and I gotta, it's gone, right? It's not even killing the character, it's literally killing the prose that you thought when you wrote it was great, but then it's no longer the right fit. And or that you had to move it in some other place that just didn't, that didn't occur to you at the beginning. So I think that's part of sort of killing your darlings, is like actually letting go of some portions in a way that that just feel a little bit sad. But that's the biggest thing I learned, is like, if you're, because of my style, I do have to be able to let things go and just and move things around. And when you move things around, there's all kinds of chopping that happens. So, that's, yeah, in terms of process, that's a big part of it for me.
Yeah. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Sasha?
No, I did want to add this just kind of a story Bible tool on top of it. If anybody
Yeah.
hasn't used Trello yet, if you do want to do
Mhm.
your story Bible, definitely use an organization tool like Trello so that you can keep them. I'm terrible about keeping up with paper, so for the electronic folks, it's definitely a great tool.
Mhm. Okay. I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to check that out. Oh, excuse me. Do you think your genre influences whether you plot or pants a story?
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
Like Laura said, when she was writing romantic suspense, you have to know a little bit more about where you're going.
Mhm.
I think with paranormal, romantasy, fantasy, there's so much world building that I think that you have to do that first
Yeah. Do
for
you
the
guys
story to flow, you know.
do you guys base yourself more in reality or are you more fantasy? I mean, I've got some of your books, Sash, but I haven't read Laura's. I mean, are you a fantasy writer as well, or do you just base your stuff in reality? So is there a lot more world creating where you have to?
I'm probably less on the world building
Yeah,
side. I do have one PNR, but I definitely prefer contemporary romance.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of where I'm at too. I stay in reality so that I don't have to build the world, but then the anachronisms and everything else, fumble
Yeah,
me up, and I've got to go back and change some stuff around. So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But yeah. Um, so when it comes to your writing process, I'm kind of going off the cuff here. Um, what influences you to start I mean, you just get the idea and you just kind of go with it from there, or do you have something on paper that you start? I mean, obviously everybody has notes in their head, but I mean, do you keep like a little notepad around or wake up from a dream and say, this is what I need to put in here next? Or how do you pants your projects is what I'm asking, I guess.
Well, I think for me, it's really all of the above. Like, I will
Mhm.
make random recordings of myself while I'm
Yeah,
driving, right? Like,
yeah,
it really, and sometimes it's as small as just a turn of phrase that I want to, that I feel like really talks, characterizes the protagonist in a way that really, it's the way they talk or whatever. And I do like the idea of, like the genre, for because I write sports romances. Part of it is I want to balance that. I write hockey, right? And I'm also a hockey fan. I'm actually, I write about Ohio, but I'm a transplant. I'm Canadian. And so there's always this sense of like, part of it is developing that side of what people expect from a hockey romance. And then, but there's something about hockey that's very improvisational, like just as a sport, right, compared to other kinds of sports. So I think it lines up really interestingly with like you kind of just go with the flow a little bit, and there's a lot of and I'm also driven, I feel like, by dialogue. I think a lot. So I will have a lot of that in place before anything else. It's like I'll know how they talk,
mhm,
and that is where, that's where the, like you said, that's where the process is. That's where I'll like press record or I'll write it out or something, because I
yeah.
want to see how they interact.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, yeah. You said you're from Ohio?
I'm in Ohio now, So
That's where this takes place. This is emo rock and roll romance in Ohio.
awesome. What city?
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy.
What
Um,
city are you in?
oh, I'm in Louisiana. So
Okay.
I've actually never been to Ohio, but I was a big emo fan. And that's where a lot of that's where a lot of the emo from, the early 2000s, came from.
Yeah,
So I wrote about it.
very
So yeah.
cool.
I'm going to take some viewer listener questions. If anybody has any questions for these guys, let me know.
I got questions.
You got questions? Go for it.
Um, so how do you guys, I mean, you're all three of you are pantsers from the sounds of it. How do you make sure don't end up with plot holes or anything like that?
And great editor, beta reader, alpha reader. There are a great deal of people involved in the process of helping you identify those plot holes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
second that. People you trust. And I really I think all readers will come at something differently, but for my beta readers, I really treasure the ones who are kind of tough on me, right? And I really try to encourage like that kind of criticism because like I won't see those things. But again, the other way is that I do go back and read it so many times that that's both a good and a bad thing, right? You catch a lot of things, of course, that way, but also sometimes you're just too inside it. You're practically memorizing this thing that you're reading over and over again to get it all smoothed out. So yeah, the other readers really matter who are able to who know what your best work is and want you to and aren't afraid to criticize it, right? And to bring those things to your attention. So it's one
Yeah,
big.
I've had the same editor since I started writing the Rider series and stuff, and she reads it, and she's a fan of the character and the world, and so she'll ask me questions like, "Is this really how this happened?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I'll go back and read an earlier story, and we're like, "Yeah, yeah, I need to go back and change that, or change a name or how it's written, and yeah, or anything really. I mean, that's what a good editor does anyway." Um, but yeah, it's good to have people that'll back you up. Now, when it comes to the collaborations that I've written, with Jordan, you know, um, I'll critique her work and she'll critique mine, and then we'll argue about it, and then we'll find the plot holes together. So yeah, that's how we do that.
That must be nice. I've never written with somebody. I'm in anthologies and there's different kinds of collaborations, but yeah, I've
Yeah,
never shared like a document with somebody and
yeah,
that's really interesting.
yeah. It adds a whole new it's definitely I wouldn't do it with anybody I wasn't like best friends with, to be honest. It adds a whole new dynamic to the friendship too, because then you're creating your own darlings together, and so yeah, and then I created both characters, but that doesn't mean that I have control over them, And then she created the characters too, but she has control over them too, and it opens up a lot. Any more questions?
I have a question for both of you, Branch and
Yeah.
Sasha. Um,
Mhm.
how long are you both indie writers? And I
Mhm.
guess I'm just curious about, or is it how are you feeling about that journey of indie publishing now, right? And like I consider myself fairly new. It's been
Mhm.
about what 3 years. I wrote a few before, but like really I don't feel like I've been in it for very long, but even now it's so different from when I started. I guess I'm just wondering about your thoughts on your writing process, how it's evolved through this and time, and also how you feel about just indie publishing or traditional publishing and your experiences with those two.
Sure. Well, I've been writing for 2.5 years professionally. I started writing in my early 20s, and I submitted a bunch of stuff to like Marvel and Dark Horse and different comic companies and stuff like that, because that's what I thought I wanted to do. And then as I got older, I started, writing more. Um, reality based, sometimes romance, sometimes more transgressive, and I find that to be more appealing to me. I don't think I'm ever going to really query any of my work or anything like that. I'm just going to punk rock it myself, and I'll self market and do everything else. I mean, I've got another pen name down the line that I might do those things with, but right now I'm just having fun doing what I'm doing. So, that's just me. Are you there, Sasha? I actually met Sasha in New Orleans at a convention. She had a huge booth, and it was great. So she's definitely a lot more involved. She's not as punk rock as I am. So, uh,
Oh, I see the can we unmute you for you?
oh, are you muted?
Yeah, she's muted and it won't let her in.
Oh,
I wonder if it
press at the very bottom of the screen where it says audio. You can press the mute button.
I mean, I think she's been doing it back and forth, but I wonder
Unmute my
if
audio. Alt A. Let's see.
if
Can you hear me?
Oh,
oh now
yes.
yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So I've been writing for 11 years now.
Yeah.
Um, I don't publish consistently though. I have so many other ventures in the book world. So I've seen the indie industry come a long way in that 10, 11 years. And that's one of the reasons it's so hard when you don't publish consistently because you have to constantly catch up with what's new, what's working, what's not working. Um, I think it's better to be indie at this point than it is traditional too. I think you have a lot more control, whereas you kind of used to have to go with a publishing house. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
The thing I'll say about the publishing house thing, I know a lot of writers that do traditional too, and yeah, I got a new book out. Oh shit, when's it coming out? Next September. It's September now. Yeah, I know, but that's when it's coming out. Like, put that shit out right now, Brenda. Get on there. I don't know anybody named Brenda, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I just want to do it, man. Put it out and get it out there for your readers, or whatever. And yeah, but like you said, control. I want to have control over all my stuff. So yeah.
Same. I'm finally getting my titles back for my first series. It's 6 books worth. So I'm
Mhm.
excited about that. It's taken many years to get them back. So I don't think I'll ever go traditional again.
Yeah. Self-marketing is hard. We were talking earlier about in the erotica space. We can't market, we can't buy ads, we can't do any of that like that. I mean, we can in the romance section, but erotica writers have a hard time, and we have to have a social media presence, and we have to make sure we're saying the right things on certain groups, and it can be tough. But yeah, but yeah, that was just based on that comment there. Can be.
No, it's so I mean, the self-marketing, as Gabs was saying here, it takes so much time, right? And it doesn't have,
Mhm.
for me, it doesn't have the same joy as writing. So
Right.
yeah. So what do you guys do for self-marketing that you love, that you like actually like to do, or that you find actually like helpful and good to bring to or good advice for people?
Uh, for me, I have a really good social media presence on X, and I just kind of make myself available to other writers and readers, and so from there, that's got me a lot of good sales for my latest book, White Lighter, I guess. But just kind of being open and um, I don't know. I mean, I've been invited to, groups and stuff like that to promote my work, but I don't know. I just don't really get involved in a lot of that stuff. I don't know. For me, it's just about the personality and just being a good guy, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of nuts, I guess, but um, yeah,
I'm not on X at all.
you're
That's really
not.
interesting. No, I'm on, I mean, I have my Facebook group and I guess Instagram, right, for teasers and stuff.
Mhm.
But really, no, I didn't. I don't really think about X. You don't actually, do you have ads on X also? Or
No, no.
no,
Oh,
right? Like
no,
it's just,
no.
yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily write erotic either. They're just, spicy, romance sometimes, or,
Yeah.
with White Lighter, it was just a transgressive story. It's actually considered, literary fiction. I mean, it's, available in libraries. I never thought about putting an ad out for it or anything either. Um, but yeah, I mean, just, I don't know. What's that? Somebody said something?
Oh, I think Missy Jane.
Yeah. Missy, what was the question? She get muted again? Oh, 5 minute warning. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's been awesome talking to you guys, and I'm gonna give this last spiel. I think I already talked about the word of the day, so I won't go back into that. If anybody needs it, you can text me later. Wink, wink. Uh, but gosh, I had something else I wanted to ask. I can't think of it because I'm a pantser. I didn't plan this out. Um, but thanks for spending the last 40 minutes with us. Next in the Reader's Lounge, we have author Amber Joe Scott for an author takeover. And after that, we'll have the conclusion and giveaway announcements. Make sure you take note of the scavenger hunt word, which was sloth, and submit it to the girls for another chance to win. Giveaways will start at 5:30 Central Time, and you must be present to win. Be sure to hop back into the reading lounge to enjoy. Amber, make sure when you're leaving the breakout room that you click and leave the room and not leave the meeting. But hey, Laura and Sasha, it's been great talking to you guys. I love talking to plotters because I never understand a planner. I'm sorry, pantsers because I never understand a planner. I can't get my head around it.
Well, thank you
So,
also. Meeting
yeah,
you
for sure.
both.
Yeah, it's really, really good meeting you guys. And we can totally hang out here until we jump off, but